The movie begins in ancient China, where we meet our protagonist, Cheng. Although he is blind, he is a well-known bounty hunter and a skilled swordsman. He arrives at a gambling house and shows the owner a picture of a wanted fugitive. The man refuses to provide any information and asks him to leave. However, Cheng relies on his intuition and suddenly stabs the owner by feeling a scar on his hand. He then realizes that this is the fugitive he is looking for. Cheng quickly finishes off the man, prompting the guards to launch an attack on him. But despite being massively outnumbered, Cheng remains unbeatable. He ends up brutally injuring each of them before leaving the premises. In the next scene, we meet a 10-year-old orphan girl named Xiao Yu and her younger brother. The kids are stealing some food and running away when they are captured by a group of thugs. However, Xiao Yu is a very brave girl and isn't scared of these men. She even bites one of them and spits on his face. The thug becomes enraged by this and attacks her with a knife, but before he can hurt her, Cheng pops up and throws a brick at him. He does so with the utmost precision, despite being blind. Upon seeing him, the thugs tremble with fear and quickly run away from there. A grateful Xiao Yu then offers Cheng an apple, but he declines and leaves. Last time someone offered me an apple, it was actually a pear. I won't fall for this again. In the evening, Xiao Yu sneaks into a neighbor's house to steal some bread, but she is caught by a young woman who is cooking in the kitchen. The little girl threatens her with a stick and asks her not to hurt her. However, the woman appears to be kind and offers her more bread instead. Later, as Xiao Yu proceeds to leave, the house is suddenly infiltrated by some thugs. Their leader is a guy named Zhu Lang, who quickly takes everyone hostage, including the kind woman. Turns out he recently murdered his wife, and she was none other than the woman's sister. Since the family was trying to report him, Zhu Lang has come to massacre all of them. Soon enough, his minions begin attacking all the family members one by one. After killing them, Zhu Lang approaches the young woman and asks her to come with him. He promises to treat her like a princess, but the woman refuses and instead tries to attack him. This enrages the psychopath, and he ends up stabbing her repeatedly until she passes away. In the meantime, Xiao Yu watches the entire scene unfold from a haystack. When the thugs are distracted, she seizes the moment to run away, but they eventually notice her, and one of them, named Yao, chases her outside. On the way, he comes across Cheng, who is drunk and vomiting everywhere. Yao thinks he's just a random blind guy, so he ignores him. Moments later, Cheng returns to his home and finds Xiao Yu hiding inside. He also hears the thugs breaking into his house and looking for the child. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he quickly helps the little girl hide from them. The thugs then search the entire place but fail to find her. When they exit the house, they come across another child outside, who turns out to be Xiao Yu's brother. He is wearing the same shoes as her, so the thugs assume it's the same kid who saw them. Zhu Lang then grabs the child and places him on a horse. The terrified boy immediately blows a whistle for his sister, but by the time she arrives, it's too late. The men throw him off and trample him with their horse hooves until he dies. He should not have asked for a pony for Christmas. The next morning, a devastated Xiao Yu meets with Cheng and asks him to avenge her brother. She has seen his fighting skills and believes that only he can help her. However, Cheng makes it clear that he's not a random mercenary and that he only kills wanted fugitives. In the evening, Cheng returns home after bounty hunting all day. To his surprise, Xiao Yu is waiting for him, and she reveals that she has drawn a wanted poster. She hands him the paper and asks him to murder Zhu Lang, but he once again refuses and kicks her out of the house. The next morning, Cheng has to travel 200 miles away to another town for work. His mission is to assassinate a fisherman who murders and robs people. However, on his way, his horse loses control and his carriage rolls down the cliff. Cheng then grabs a stone with one hand and begins to climb. In the midst of this, someone unexpectedly grabs his leg, and it turns out to be Xiao Yu. It is revealed that she hid in his carriage and followed him the entire way. Although angry, Cheng grabs the little girl and they both climb up together. He now has no choice but to take her to his destination. After walking for days, the duo arrives at the said location and meets with the fisherman while pretending to be guests. Despite knowing Cheng's true identity, the fisherman acts ignorant and pours him a glass of wine. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu is playing on the edge of the lake when she notices a severed hand. Terrified, she screams at the top of her lungs and quickly warns Cheng about it. With this, a brawl ensues between our hero and the fisherman. The latter sends numerous thugs to deal with him, but Cheng fights them all with relative ease. After killing everyone, he goes after the fisherman and severely injures him. He then proceeds to finish him off, but the man addresses him as Captain and reveals that he was once his subordinate in a battle. He admits that he sacrificed a lot for the country, but received nothing in return. So he turned to robbing and killing people, and fishing too. The fisherman then begs for mercy, but Cheng grabs a sword and severs his neck. In the evening, the duo prepares to return home after completing the mission. Xiao Yu once again begs begs Chang to avenge her brother's death, but he refuses. I don't care if the guy kills people. I only hunt people who... Oh, wait. Annoyed by her persistence, he abandons her in town and returns home alone. The scene then shifts to a month later, when Chang notices someone's presence in his home. He drags Xiao Yu from under his bed and finds out that she is severely wounded and sick. He then takes care of her wounds and begins to feed her. After a few days, the little girl suddenly wakes up and begins to drink water. Chang asks how she came back, to which Xiao Yu explains that she had memorized the map. However, since she didn't have a vehicle, she walked for days to get here. Xiao Yu then asks him to teach her martial arts so that she can avenge her brother. Chang pauses for a moment before saying that she can live in his stable. He doesn't mention anything about martial arts or revenge, though. Over the next few days, Xiao Yu acts as the blind man's eyes, as if he needs it. She helps him identify and lure the fugitives to his place. As a result, his bounty hunting business becomes even more successful, and he earns a lot of money. They become close over time, and Chang eventually lets her sleep in the house instead of the stable. One day, while Xiao Yu is treating his wounds, she notices numerous scars on his body and inquires about them. Chang responds that he was in a battle to defend his hometown, Chang'an. He also reveals that he is working hard to save enough money to return home and live in peace. Days later, Xiao Yu arrives at an entertainment venue while looking for information about some fugitives. During this time, she notices Zhu Lang in one of the rooms, which leaves her in shock. The evil man also notices her and summons her to stay by his side. It turns out he is betting on fights, so he questions her who's gonna win. At this moment, Xiao Yu recalls her brother's death and wishes to slash the villain's neck right then and there, but she is also terrified, so she opts to remain silent for now. When she returns home, Chang excitedly shares that he has found a family for her that brews wine. He explains that people who brew wine can live a good life, and the family will love her. It turns out that there is already a woman who has arrived to pick her up. Chang makes the little girl sit on a carriage and forces her to go. However, she quickly gets down and reveals that she met the man who murdered her brother. Hearing the raw anger in her words, Chang finally decides to teach her martial arts. Starting the very next morning, they begin their training. At first, he teaches her a way to mark people's necks with a brush without the person realizing it. Chang says that if she excels at it, she will definitely be able to kill Zhu Lang. He hands her a painting brush and asks her to practice a lot. Xiao Yu then goes around marking random people and quickly masters the technique. During this time, Chang also teaches her combat skills, which she practices day and night. One day, while Xiao Yu is alone at home, Yao shows up unexpectedly with an old man. It turns out that he has found the wanted poster of his boss, which she had placed in several places. He accuses her of drawing it and asks if she did it on the blind man's orders. However, the little girl bravely pushes him away, insisting that Chang has nothing to do with it. An enraged Yao tries to attack her, but Chang shows up just in time. The two men then get into a fierce fight until our hero eventually manages to kill Yao. After this, he goes for the old guy, who is also one of the thugs. Chang beats him up and is about to kill him, but he's stopped by Xiao Yu. She asserts that the man is innocent and he doesn't have to die. Chang responds that vengeance causes collateral damage, and many innocent people might suffer. He still won't go after the guy who killed her brother, though, for some reason. He tells her that if she wants to seek revenge, she needs to be ruthless. However, Xiao Yu tearfully admits that she has changed her mind and no longer wishes to avenge her brother. Hearing this, Chang finally lets the old man go. In the next scene, the duo decides to leave the murderous city and live a normal life in Chang'an. After a while of traveling, they set up camp and intend to rest for the night. Xiao Yu says that she wants to give him one of her eyes so that he can see. Chang is deeply moved by her offer, but says that it's not necessary. It's also impossible, stupid. The next morning, he is shocked to find out that Xiao Yu is no longer in the camp. Upon inquiring with another traveler, he gets to know that she returned to town the night before. This sends him into a state of panic, so he immediately turns his horse back and heads to the city. In the meantime, we see Zhu Lang, who is distraught at the death of his beloved friend Yao. He begins preparing hundreds of soldiers so they can find Chang and Xiao Yu, but unbeknownst to him, the little girl has already infiltrated his house. After a while, Zhu Lang returns to his room and notices Xiao Yu's feet under his desk. When he goes to check, she immediately jumps to attack him. Unfortunately, her attempts are thwarted by the bodyguards, who quickly restrain her. Xiao Yu fights back with all of the techniques Chang taught her, but to no avail. Too bad he never taught her that people can see her feet. Zhu Lang then forces her to eat a handful of powdered drugs, which causes her to cough up blood. After this, he tries to finish her off, but Chang shows up just in time. Xiao Yu cries upon seeing him and rushes to hug him like a child missing her father. Zhu Lang then takes advantage of the distraction and runs away. Moments later, the duo heads downstairs, where they encounter a group of mercenaries. Chang uses his incredible sword skills to defeat wave after wave of attack. Even though he unleashes all of his strength, the troops continue to grow until they are both cornered with no way out. Xiao Yu starts to panic and faints from the stress of the situation. Chang then carries her on his back and fights with all his might. In the end, he is badly injured, but somehow manages to defeat the entire army. He then goes after Zhu Lang, and the two men engage in a brutal fight. It quickly becomes evident that the villain is also a skilled fighter. After a long and intense battle, he manages to brutally stab Chang several times. This causes our hero to collapse to the ground in a puddle of his own blood. Zhu Lang then proceeds to finish him off, but Xiao Yu suddenly awakens and grabs his leg, preventing him from moving. Taking full advantage of this opportunity, Chang somehow gets up and stabs Zhu Lang in the throat, finally killing him. In the aftermath, Chang carries Xiao Yu, who has fallen unconscious again. He then hugs her tightly and strokes her hair. Chang tells her that he has avenged her brother, so he now wants her to go to his hometown in his place. Moments later, he succumbs to his injuries and passes away. The next morning, Xiao Yu wakes up in the house and discovers that she's being treated by a friend of Chang. The movie ends as we see her heading to Chang'an City, where she hopes to begin a new life away from violence.